Hey, somebody needs to make the dressing. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, and with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. This week, The Professional Noticer is sponsored by wisdomharbor.com. You have heard of wisdomharbor.com, haven't you? Today, families and school systems all over America are finding wisdomharbor.com's one-of-a-kind streaming service to be the perfect, low-cost, high-quality educational tool for their students. Wisdom Harbor's stated responsibility is, get this, to create the next greatest generation. And they're starting with your hometown and your school system for less than $3 a month per teacher. Classrooms have access to original content only found on wisdomharbor.com that teaches, entertains, and builds character in young people while creating conversations between young people and adults in their community. Utilizing video, audio, and the written word, content is delivered in small bites by Grammy winners, CEOs, comedians, chefs, best-selling authors, Hall of Fame speakers. There are even guitar lessons from an award-winning songwriter. Check it out today and join your friends and neighbors who are already a part of wisdomharbor.com. And isn't it time your schools got involved? Wisdomharbor.com, creating America's next greatest generation, starting with your family and your hometown. All right, observations and answers. That's what we do here on The Professional Noticer. And today, I hope will not be an exception because I'm the one giving the observations, and I hope we'll stumble on a couple of answers. 21 years ago, a few months back, 21 years ago, I published a book called The Traveler's Gift. And that book went on to do amazing things. It's still selling in hardback. 40 different languages it's been translated into. And people all over the world love this book. But when I look back over it, there is to me, it's a glaring error. Maybe this is the way it was supposed to be written, but number 5, when David Ponder visits Anne Frank, and as he has traveled through time and has ended up in the annex at this particular time, there's and if you're new to The Traveler's Gift or new to me, you'll quickly get this is a travel through time that a man in trouble makes. And he gets to be with several historical figures who are also going through a crazy time in their life. And the fifth one, the fifth visit he does is Anne Frank in the annex. And so each of these 7 historical figures give this man, whose name is David Ponder, they give this man a different decision that if he puts it in his life, things would change. And that decision is like a page and a half of writing about this one thing that can be distilled into one. And so number 5 with Anne Frank told him, the distilled version of it is, today I will choose to be happy. And I suppose that's the way it was supposed to be written because that was the way that it was written. But somewhere along the line, I've kind of shifted into thinking that was not a great goal. That was not a great responsibility to put into Anne Frank's mouth, because I don't know that you can choose to be happy. I don't know that like 1 minute, you go, well, today, just a minute ago, I chose to be happy, and now I really am. I mean, that sounds kind of creepy. But I know that you can choose gratefulness, and that when you choose to be grateful, the feeling you have is akin to happiness. And so maybe I should have worded that differently, and maybe it makes more sense to the everyday person the way it is now. Maybe, and throughout the entire chapter, we talk about gratefulness. Even in the decision that she hands him after today, I will choose to be happy. She tells him how to be happy, and it's being grateful. So I'm talking myself back into happy, I suppose. But I know you're going to be happy on this Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is my favorite because Christmas has come to seem to me more like a deadline than a holiday, and Thanksgiving just kind of happens. That we cook a lot, but there's a lot of hanging around and going over somebody's house or waiting for somebody to come over to our house, and Thanksgiving is very special to me because of that. But I think it's also because with people being purposefully grateful, right? I mean, it's one day where some family may say, okay, before we say the blessing, we're going to go around the table and everybody's going to say one thing they're thankful for this year, or one thing they're thankful for today, and so people are being purposefully grateful. And if the result of that gratefulness is a state of happiness, then Thanksgiving might be our happiest holiday. I think like I said, I don't know that somebody can choose to be happy and just turn it on and really be happy. But I do know that somebody can choose to be grateful. I do know you can choose to be grateful. I do know that you can sit down at a table and write down 50 things you have to be thankful for. And when you get up from the table, you'll feel differently. That's called comparative analysis, is what it is, really. I mean, we've all heard, you sit right down there and count your blessings. But I think that when we purposefully consider the things that we truly have to be thankful for in a deep way, in a bottom of the pool kind of concept, that when we think about that, it creates something that can only be akin to happiness. I mean, when we dig deep, and I'll give you just an example of going from maybe anger, frustration, to gratefulness and happiness with a thought. Okay, here's my story. I was in Orlando, and I was speaking at one of the Disney hotels. And don't get me started on Disney and their, shall we say, greed. But don't get me started on Disney. But I was staying in one of the Disney hotels, and when I got in the room, it was hot. Because the convention I was speaking at was at a Disney hotel. I'm staying in a Disney hotel, and I go in the room, and it's hot. I mean, it's like 82, 83, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they didn't turn the air conditioning on, and so I get it going, and it finally cools down in there. So then I go out, gonna get something to eat. I come back in, and the room's like 82, 83 again. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, turns out that they have a switch on it. Okay, it's a motion detector on it, and so this thing only cranks the air conditioning when you're moving around the room, and when you leave the room, it goes back to 80 or whatever it is. But it was infuriating, because I'm going, oh my God, I can't live in this heat. And you wake up in the middle of the night and it's hot because you've been still, and you had to, get up in bed and go, and But I was griping mentally so bad. I can't believe as much as they're charging these people for these rooms that you have to go into a hot room every guy. It's just and this was during the time. If you remember, several years ago, maybe a decade ago, when the earthquake happened in Haiti, and we're seeing all those people out and in the elements, and it's like 110 degrees with 400% humidity, and they've got like a sheet over their head. And that just suddenly popped into my mind. And I suddenly thought, wow, I'm glad I'm not in Haiti. I'm glad my family's not in Haiti. 82 seems fine. And my perspective changed immediately from one of anger and frustration to one of relief, gratefulness, and with the relief and the gratefulness, calm and happiness. It's a Thanksgiving state of mind, gratefulness. Hey, I've got a story I want to tell you. This is a story I wrote several years ago. And it's just a Thanksgiving story that I think you will enjoy. And if you want to pass this on to your friends and let them enjoy this Thanksgiving story or the whole episode, whatever you wish to do. But this episode, let me just do that again. This story in this episode is called A Thanksgiving State of Mind. Everyone around the dinner table smiled as Pat Ward put the last dish in front of them. I know it's not much. The whole family laughed out loud. That statement had been made by Pat every Thanksgiving of their lives. Actually, there was enough food to feed an infantry division, but she always worried there would be some poor soul who didn't get at least 5 helpings of everything. This year, she had prepared the dressing a day earlier than usual to give her more time with the grandchildren, but she only used that time to expand the menu. Besides the turkey and dressing, Pat had baked a ham, 3 pumpkin pies, and a sweet potato casserole. She made fried corn, cranberry salad, squash, rolls, butter beans, and 3 kinds of peas. Well, there was a time when family members would jokingly mention a favorite dish during the days before Thanksgiving. This was just a game. It was a challenge to see if their suggestion would end up on the table. It always did. They felt guilty about that last year when Pat cooked 6 different entrees and 11 desserts, so this year they kept quiet. Wade, please say grace, Pat directed as everyone bowed their heads. Certainly, dear. Let us pray. And as they all closed their eyes, he began. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you on this day of Thanksgiving with gratefulness in our hearts. Wade paused. This is ridiculous, he thought. How can I even say that? I don't feel grateful at all. I shouldn't even finish this prayer. But he did. Pat's husband, Wade, is more commonly known around Sawyerton Springs as Pastor Ward. He has led the flock at Bowman's Pond United Methodist Church for well over 2 decades, but lately it's all been seeming a bit much. It's not that he is old. He isn't. I'm just tired, he told Pat this morning, and frustrated. I've had it. It's not necessarily the church, he tried to explain, or Rotary Club, or my city council duties, or the grandkids. Well, it's just everything. I've had it. Pat understood. Lately, she had kind of had it, too. There at the dinner table, Wade sliced the ham and looked at Pat's Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank was 74 years old and sort of a know-it-all. Uncle Frank also knew a million jokes, and as Wade finished the ham and started on the turkey, he told another one. Another stupid joke, Wade thought. "So there's these cowboys," Uncle Frank was saying, "and they rode into town whooping and shooting. There was this dog right in the middle of the street, and one of them cowboys shot him right in the foot. A couple of days later, the cowboys was in a saloon. They was drinking and cussing and playing cards, and all of a sudden," Uncle Frank's eyes got big. "All of a sudden, a shadow fell over the saloon. As the cowboys looked up, they saw the dog walking through the swinging doors. He had on a gun belt and a hat pulled down low over his eyes. A cowboy said, 'What do you want?' And the dog says, 'I've come to get the man that shot my pa.'" Everyone screamed with laughter. "I've come to get the man that shot my pa," Uncle Frank said again, banging his hand on the table. "You get it, son?" he asked Wade. "You get it, don't you? I've come to get the man that shot my pa." Wade forced a smile. "I get it, Uncle Frank," he said. "Would you like some turkey?" Wade had driven all the way to Foley to pick up Uncle Frank earlier that afternoon. He had missed the first quarter of the Dallas-Detroit game because Uncle Frank insisted on leaving the house at 2 o'clock sharp. No reason and no way to talk him out of it. Before he even said hello, Uncle Frank had asked, "Son, if Patty Duke married Gomer Pyle, what would her name be?" Wade shrugged. "Patty Duke Pyle." "Get it? Duke Pyle. Patty Duke Pyle." On the way to the house, sandwiched between the jokes, Uncle Frank had asked Wade why he was driving a 12-year-old car. "It was a piece of junk when you bought it," he said. "It's what we can afford, Uncle Frank," Wade had answered, but inside he had been seething. As the family ate and talked, Wade thought about the car. Uncle Frank had been right. It was a piece of junk when he bought it. Billy Pat had told him as much when he sold it to him. "It will need repairs now and again," were Billy Pat's very words. "I'm 53 years old," Wade thought. "I should not be driving a 12-year-old car. Pat's 48, and she's never had a car of her own." For the third year in a row, the church elders had voted down a $1,500 raise in their pastor's salary. Last Monday, Roger Luker had come to tell him in person. "We just felt that the money would be of better use to foreign missions," Roger said. "After all, there are a lot of poor people overseas, and besides, it's not like you have to make a house payment. The church owns the parsonage, right?" Wade drifted back into the conversations on the giggles of another joke. "So there was this fat lady stuck in the window of the church, and when the guy in the devil costume walked around to ask directions, she said, 'Mr. Devil, don't hurt me. I've been going to this church for 40 years, but you know I've been on your side all along.'" As everyone howled, Wade thought, there's probably some truth in there somewhere. Through dessert, Wade wondered if his church members cared more about poor people they didn't know than they did about his family. "That's right," Wade said to himself. "You do own the parsonage. Where are we supposed to live when I retire? Or am I just supposed to preach till I'm 100 and keel over on the pulpit? Why can't I buy my wife a new dress or a diamond ring or a new car? And about the car we're driving now, one more year and the engine will die, then the floor will fall out, and I'll be driving around town like Fred Flintstone." After dinner, the family helped clean up while Wade tried to herd Uncle Frank into the car. "If I could get him out of here," Wade said to Pat, "then I'll have something to be thankful for." Uncle Frank's jokes were becoming a blur, and Wade easily tuned them out as he drove. The kids were on his mind. They were always after him to do something. "Daddy, fix this. Daddy, can you and Mama keep the children? Daddy, we're a little short this month." The city council thing was bugging him too. He hadn't even wanted the position, but everybody begged him to take it. They said, "You will be a moral voice for the community. Wade, please help us." Now they're all mad because he had voted no to having liquor at their Christmas party. What would they expect? After Wade walked Uncle Frank to the door and listened to 4 more jokes, he got back in his car and drove. Had he gone straight home, this story might have ended here and in not too happy a fashion. But Wade didn't go home. It wasn't until 2 a.m. the next morning that he rolled into his driveway. Pat had been frantic, but she knew her husband too well to push him for answers. She was relieved he was safe and glad to see that he was smiling. It was the first time she had seen him really smile in days. Wade apologized for worrying her. He said he hadn't meant to be so distant or to snap at her as he had done lately. He kissed her, looked at her, and kissed her again. Then he went to bed. Pat might never have known what happened that night that caused such a change in Wade had she not found the letter. It was in a bottle, floating near the bank in Bowman's Pond. Pat was raking leaves behind the church when she saw it. Reaching the bottle with the rake, she unscrewed the cap, fished out the letter, and read, "Dear God, it doesn't feel like Thanksgiving. At least I don't feel very thankful. In fact, I'm fairly ticked off. If you ask me about what, I'd say everything. I'm so preoccupied with the things that are going wrong in my life, I'm having a hard time seeing the bigger picture. Lord, I'm going to sit here by this pond until you remind me of 10 things I have to be thankful for. And please do it fast. Pat's going to kill me for being late. Number 1, I have Pat. She loves me, even when I'm being a jerk to her relatives like I was today. 2, I have a home in which to live. Remind me occasionally of the people on the street. 3, my family has enough to eat. I know there are fathers who put their children to bed hungry. 4, I have people who care about me. There are many who don't. 5, I was born in America. With all our problems, this is still the greatest country in the world. 6, I can see and hear and walk and talk. These are things I rarely consider, but they are a priceless gift. 7, I have the opportunity to help people who are hurting. It is amazing how much good an encouraging word can do. 8, I have the seasons. They're a constant reminder of change. After the winter in my life, there is always springtime. 9, I have my children and grandchildren who depend on me. That is an honor, and I have learned to be dependable. 10, I have music, trees, a good bed, a pond to fish in, my health, a car that does in fact run, clothes to wear, time with my family, and in Uncle Frank I have an unlimited source of jokes for my sermons. Thank you, Lord, even for him. Wade. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this. Share this with your friends. Share the episode or just the story. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Pilgrim hats for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by the quirky and innovative world of ThanksgivingTechTreasures.com, where the spirit of Thanksgiving meets the wonders of technology. Are you ready? Well, fasten your apron strings because ThanksgivingTechTreasures.com is here to electrify your holiday feast. Introducing the Turkey View glasses. Ever curious about Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving celebration from a turkey's perspective? These high-tech spectacles offer a fun and unique virtual reality experience. They're great for entertaining kids or providing a hilarious escape from all the noise while the kids hide. Check out our Pilgrim Projection Pod, a compact device that projects holographic images of pilgrims and Native Americans. Engage in virtual conversations, learn about history, or just enjoy their amusing reactions to today's Thanksgiving customs. But wait, there's more. Don't miss the cornucopia popcorn maker. This is not your ordinary cornucopia. Watch and delight as it overflows with freshly popped popcorn. Perfect as an edible decoration. All these fun and innovative gadgets await you at ThanksgivingTechTreasures.com, where we're dedicated to infusing your Thanksgiving with a dash of technology.